You know how sometimes you just need a change of scenery? I mean, we've all been there. Remember as kids when you wanted to rearrange your room furniture? Well, I got a crazy idea. Let's see if this works. Today, I'm gonna give you a glimpse inside redoing my living space. And it all started with the hopes that I could use this canvas periodic table of all things we found at IKEA. Plus, I've got some 80-year-old barnwood that I've gotta use at least sometime soon or it's gonna go bad. Yeah. Anyway, I decided to make a frame for it. We went ahead and put this on 3/4 inch plywood and framed it out, and my goodness, check out the end result. Beep. Let's see how we did it. So, one of my favorite things in school was chemistry. Yeah, I'm kidding. Although I do like the look of a periodic table. It is kind of cool to see all these different elements in there. I especially like Einsteinium, the smartest element of the bunch. Well, the idea here is to take this canvas. This is basically like a lithograph photo, if you will, of a blackboard with a periodic table drawn on it. We're gonna go ahead and put this on some 3/4 inch plywood. Since I order this stuff by the stack, I'm just gonna leave it here. We're gonna use some of this Super 77. This is really good spray adhesive if you don't feel like messing with the stuff, you know, that you roll on, which is really a pain in the ass. Anyway, this worked fine. I had a little bit of bubbling issues later on, but that's because I left it in the sun for too long. Really easy to push that back down. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Either way, you want to go ahead and coat both surfaces with the Crown Tack cement. And then I had this really genius idea of how to do all this by myself. I'm going to use the tube that the canvas came in. We're going to slowly put this on, and this worked absolutely brilliantly. I was worried I was going to use maybe the little dowels or something to keep, from everything sticking together, but this way of doing it half and half worked brilliantly. And speaking of working brilliantly, typically those of us here in the U.S. with an American dialect don't say that word. Sometimes I wish we could use different terms. Like, I would love to say, I'm going to go get some lunch with a couple of mates, but I don't have an Australian accent, so it just doesn't sound right. Some of the coolest lingo, I think, is, from another land, far, far away. So, with the first half already stuck like Chuck, it's now time to move on to the second. We'd lather, rinse, repeat, do the exact same process. And again, I love this little trick. It does work brilliantly, especially if you don't have a few mates to help you. Seriously. Now, I'm using a piece of acrylic to smooth everything out, and then I'm just going to trim everything right to the edge. I use one of these 30-degree Olfa. These are the best pocket knives on the planet. Used to carry an actual knife around forever, but now these are typically the knives you see professional window tinters use, and I think it's the best utility knife on the planet. It's great. This is going pretty well. Not gonna lie though, I've got this piece of acrylic here, and I honestly think that's like a kid's tablet or something, or an iPad every time. All right, so we're gonna trim this up and make it look super great. And at this point in the video, a lot of you guys might expect me to maybe sell you an alarm system, or maybe some green juice to help you, I don't know, be better. Or maybe some pre-packaged meals. I'm not doing any of that. This part of the video is sponsored by me. If you don't have my favorite invention I've ever made, listen up. Now, if you're not familiar with what it does, you can take any orbital sander, mount it upside down for precision sanding using both hands. Every mount comes with this, a QR code made on the laser, why not, for instructions on how to put it together and how to use it. But you may not need that because I offer this. Here's the version where I assemble it for you. I build it so you don't have to. It also comes with some of the best precision knobs I've ever seen from Bow products. And thankfully, I've been able to keep this business running for 4 years now. I've been an entrepreneur. It's been a crazy journey. This now is 40% off for the foreseeable future. I really love getting these out in the world. I think they're the handiest thing that I've ever made, and I can't wait for you guys to use it. Oh, one side note, these are actually two-tone right now. If you get one of these, hey, consider yourself lucky. So you saw me trimming all that 80-year-old barnwood. Some of it's red oak, some of it's white oak. I think there was even a piece of poplar or two. Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this thing in the playroom. I usually don't work in an environment like this, but it was just the easiest way to do it. I had to get this thing out of the sun. It was starting to bubble a little bit on me, so it was just get it in here and bring the trim in and go ahead and tack it in place while you can. So I'm working alone on this project, and this piece is fairly large. You're going to see here, I'm actually, there's me flattening out some of those bubbles that I talked about earlier. And once I get this trim put on, I've got to figure out a way to get it up on the wall. And so I do think in the studs is the way to go. There's no other way, really. Don't use anchors for something this heavy. So I'm going to use essentially a rest here. We're going to go ahead and tack a piece of trim in place. And I thought I had put this at the right spot, but the studs had other ideas. I thought this was right, but I couldn't get all the hold I needed. So I'm going to tack this in place and then drive some screws in. For whatever reason, I didn't film me putting the screws in, but there are 8 cabinet screws in this thing, into the wall, into the studs, and it is not going anywhere. All right, here's some of that barnwood, and here is my finish of choice, Halcyon Clear. We're gonna, hot take here, I'm gonna put it in a spray bottle, half and half. Half Halcyon, half water, and we're gonna just spray this surface down with a high quality spray bottle. You make sure you pay at least $7 for it. And then any high spots, low spots, just take a foam roller and even it out, and I've done so on all of this stuff. So as I make my way in the house and back to the backyard, I'm just simply going to use a circular saw to trim all this up. Again, this is not polished mahogany or walnut. This is old barnwood that's just been hanging out for years, and the idea is for it to be rustic. And it's okay if the cuts aren't 100% at a 90. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, check it out. It's looking good already. But as you can see, I've got some work to do. So this is what it looks like after finally just doing this part. The bottom's not finished. I'm out of wood. I have enough to trim it, but I gotta be creative with the bottom. Guess we'll see. So you just heard me say I'm running out of wood. Well, this is all I have left. And I do have to cut all this up to make trim, and I'm gonna hide some LEDs, and I need to do a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't really have much to put on the bottom. You know, I got this old barnwood from a buddy of mine named Mike with a company called Planked Woodworking here in Northeast Florida. I've known Mike for 20-something years. He is actually one of the more talented woodworkers I've ever met. I'm going to throw him a bone here. I'm going to put his website down below. Check him out. If you need any work done in Northeast Florida, he's your guy. And lo and behold, my daughter's birthday present this year. This is Franklin. We call him Franks. So when he enters the room or wherever, we're like, oh, here's the Franks. That's it. He is such a great addition to this family. He is just fit right in, and he hangs out in the shop, and he's just all over the place. It's so cool. Oh, yeah. So harkening back to my previous career running a bakery, this is a bench brush we use to take flour off the table. Works well for all kinds of crap in woodworking as well. Once all this barnwood is all cleaned up, or at least cleaned up for the most part, I mean, it's still pretty gross. And that's the idea, right? Just have gross wood in your house? Sure, why not? Now, I'm using a saw stop to cut this up. I did put the bypass on, so it would cut through a hot dog if need be, but just be careful. And then also, I'm going to use some pocket holes, and I'm not going to use a jig. I'm just going to do the pocket holes myself. Why? Because these are trim screws that are going to be used in this frame. And that's pretty much all I had at the moment, and it worked out pretty well. Now, you can see the wood cleans up on the back really nicely. But, you know, you want your wood to be gross looking. That's the idea. Just have it nasty as all get out, and that will look good, right? Okay. Anyway, I do like the aesthetic, and of course I say that in jest. But putting this up by myself, this was a little challenging, but it worked out well. Tacked it in place, and now on to the LEDs. Now, don't cheapen out when you buy LEDs, you know. Pay up for them a little bit because the adhesive back will be stronger and the lights will be more consistent as well. Now for a little bit of a test. That's the middle of the day, and we'll see how this looks. That's cool. Oh yeah. All right, remember that kid from the beginning of the video? Yeah, the redhead. You saw him for about 1 second. Well, this kid is into everything. And the reason I'm making this is because of him. Because he will find the cord and he will rip it out of the wall no matter what. He's a special kid. I love him to death. My goodness, the boy just don't get it. So what we're going to do is we're going to fashion a cord hider, cord concealer, if you will. And then we're going to I'm going to screw it in place. That way he can't even get to it. And you know what? I've been living with this for a little bit, and he hasn't been able to get it, and I think that's a success. So now we're going to trim out the rest of it, and I realize my gun is not working at all. Is it a new battery? Is it something? Well, so a little surgery here, and I found this. Yeah. That'll do it. That'll make your gun not work. So we'll put it back together. Should be good. So what I'm about to show you is some security footage from inside of our house. It's one of those, you ever have one of those days, moments? The reason we have cameras in the house, that little boy you saw with the red hair, well, he's a nonverbal eloper. He's a flight risk. And it's really great to keep eyes on him quite a bit. He needs it. So anyway, a lot of people were apprehensive about having cameras in the house. We've kind of made peace with it at this point, but it does find some interesting moments, and this is one. Check it out. So, carrying in a few pieces of trim, and right in the face. I had a few things to say. Yeah. Okay, back on topic about how I just fixed my nail gun. So, the satisfaction of fixing something that breaks is better to me, or more rewarding than the fact of when I get discouraged because it broke. What are you doing? Anyway, we're going to finish trimming this up. And this little accent wall is coming together pretty nice. I really want to know what you think. Is it crazy to put this really gross wood in your house, or do you like it? Now, the idea is that I was going to paint the wall before I did this, but I didn't. And I decided to take some stain and do a few coats back there on the drywall. It worked all right. No one's going to notice except me and however many people see this video. Now it's time to rebuild a little bit and see how everything looks. And by the way, I'm in my 40s, and this is the first sectional couch I've ever owned. And you know what? It's pretty cool. And it's from Costco, believe it or not. I mean, it's a little unnerving kind of showing you my living room. You're probably going to pause it and go, what exactly is all that writing on the wall? Well, that's for you to figure out. But the periodic table looks great. And there is one thing that I do know. Having it on 3/4 inch plywood is awesome because I have an idea. And I'm going to share it with you right here. Yeah, said that a little too early in the video. I'm going to pan over and show you the room plus the tripod, and here's the idea. But I love it. I think it's awesome. Now, there'll be an update to this in the future. That's a hard surface, right? That's a 3/4 inch piece of plywood. We're going to actually probably going to drill into it. Do some kind of cool looking, maybe vintage shelving to display some of the old books we have, stuff like that. So now I'm going to invite you to a part of this video of stuff I make that I don't film, that I think is cool. Watch this. This is not a huge deal, but that same wood with the curtains, put that up there, looks pretty good. Here are some wrinkled chairs, as you know, because we have children and we change these slip covers out quite a bit. But this, my daughter said, Daddy, I want a table that can fit on a chair with a squirrel on it. And this, besides it being dirty, because she uses it, how cool is this? That is a raster pass on a laser cut squirrel, basically an etching. And then I took some careful measurements, made this box like a school desk, and then, side note, there is an acrylic layer on the top for easy cleanup. Boom. Fantastic. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, I know it's kind of ugly and unsightly, but yeah, it's still cool. So our TV used to be over there, and now it's right here on this massive brick fireplace. There's a bunch of plywood, tap conned in, really reinforced, works well. And for the question I get most when people come over, they go, what the heck is this? This is a harpsichord from 1819, made in Reading, Pennsylvania by a guy named John Haberacker. I know that because it actually came with the sticker that was from the original manufacturer's date. It doesn't work anymore, but if we were to get this restored, which would cost about 20 grand, this thing would be worth quite a bit. But in estate now, we found this at an estate sale years ago, and now it's part of our family. And it's such a cool piece, I think, to have underneath your TV. Truly one of the coolest pieces that really came into our family later, and we love it. You know, I think sometimes you just need a refresh in your life, whether it's in your living space. I mean, who remembers as a kid changing their room around just to get a different feel, maybe per school year, who knows? I know I did that. My wife was a big proponent of that as well, and this feels really good. The kids love it. When people come over, the in-laws, they think, well, this is better. Actually, my 91-year-old father-in-law sat right here the other day and sat there and said, Christopher, this is better. Nice going, my man. Thanks, Papa. So yeah, it turned out great. It's kind of an impromptu video. I didn't even know I was gonna do this, but about 4 or 5 days ago. But I decided to film it because, you know, I still am on this platform on YouTube, and I do want to make more things like this. So I hope you enjoy this process. And it was fairly simply to do. I'm leaving that in. It was pretty easy to do. Most of the cuts were made on a circular saw. I did some rip cuts on the table saw, but really minimal tools were needed, and I'm excited. Can't wait to see what we do with that solid surface. Also, the orbital sander mount is on sale, like I mentioned before. Check the link below to support this small business. It really does help us out a lot. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Hi, just want to let you know that I like squirrels and cats and dogs and snakes. Welcome to the Glimpse Inside channel. Channel. That's what I said. Channel. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you, and have a great day. Bye. And by the way, don't forget the squirrel.